This is a video about my newly designed track saw outfeed table. It allows my track saw and my table saw to work together and allows one person to make big cuts and handle big pieces of plywood within a small work area. I'll show you both how it works and how I built it. I've got some really good advice for those of you who are have workshops that are kind of confined by space and who still want to be able to have big shop capabilities with regards to dealing with large sheets of plywood, making wide rips, or cross-cutting big pieces of plywood without having to add on to your workshop or build a big outfeed table that ends up just collecting junk in the end. And that advice is to buy a track saw. Or you can make your own track saw. There's plenty of videos out there on how to do that. And use it in conjunction with your table saw. Now, I've been using this setup for about 4 or 5 years now, and it works exceptionally well. These two tools work very efficiently together, to the point where my fence on my table saw is rarely beyond 15, 17 inches to that side of the legs. Anything bigger than that, I'm usually cutting on the track saw here. I originally designed and built a track saw outfeed table, made a video on it about 4 years ago, and it's been very popular because people recognize that it's a good concept. Well, after using it for 4 years, I've determined that I can get away with less, even a smaller footprint, and still retain all the capabilities that I had before. So essentially, using this setup with this workbench gives you big shop capabilities in a very small footprint. All right, so let's go ahead and make some cuts with this. And first I want to point out the obvious, that this is on casters. And my original design, I had brackets on this side of the table that would support this piece of MDF, but I've changed that so that you can move this around by having the bracket for my fence support this MDF. I got some dowels here that just slide into some drilled holes here that keep it in place. And I move the brackets on the front to the side here. So I can move this out. It's also still has brackets on the back. And I can make cuts here, or if I want to deploy these brackets here, like say I want to cut a piece of 4x8 plywood in half, cross cut in half, I've got this to deploy out here for that. And it's got deployable brackets here, and here, and I can pull the workbench back if I need to rip a piece of 4x8 plywood. So let's go ahead and make some cuts and show you how this works. The first cut I'm going to make is I'm going to cross cut an 8-foot long piece of plywood in half. So I'm going to put down some sacrificial strips of MDF to support the workpiece. And that would be a very difficult cut to do on a table saw. And let me tell you, these track saws give you table saw quality cuts. So what I'm next going to do is I'm going to show you how we can rip a full sheet of plywood with this setup. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stagger strips of wood here. And we're probably going to need this out too. You can either buy a long track like this or make your own if you're going that route, or you can join 2 tracks together. you're just able to easily rip this piece of plywood. Great, nice, clean cut on both sides of this with this saw. One person accurately ripping this piece of plywood would be very difficult on a table saw, even if you did have a huge shop and a very large outfeed table. Most of the time what people are doing is they're cutting it close, and then they got to feed it through again to make the final cut perfect. But with this setup, one cut and you're done. Alright, so now you've seen how this thing works, and the beauty of this design is at the end of the day it can be tucked up and out of the way. And that gives me some added valuable real estate to use my other tools here. And eliminates the problem I was having with my other design. That's the area over here that wasn't seeing much action, was just kind of collecting junk. And with this cavity design, you've got some storage under here too that'll also help eliminate that. So now I'm going to show you how to build it. And what I did was I time-lapse filmed me assembling this table, stopping at some crucial points to show you the design. And that should be good enough for most of you to build your own. But for those of you who need more, I eventually plan on putting together some plans. This is all designed in SketchUp, so that shouldn't be very difficult. So just pay attention to the video description for a link to that. And then the other thing is the brackets themselves, made by Nape and Vote, and I'll put a link to the brackets as well. There are other brackets available. I just saw some the other day for sale at Woodcraft, and these are the 12-inch brackets. And finally, I understand that your design may need to be a little different than mine. Mine, for instance, I had to have this void right here to allow for the dust collection hoses on my workbench. Now your table saw is probably different than mine. Maybe you've got a contractor saw with a motor hanging off the back, so you may need a void here to accommodate the motor. So obviously your design may need to be a little different than mine, but I'm going to show you how I built this. So watch the assembly process and please post any comments or questions that you have. The first step is to build the base, and it's a pretty simple design made out of 2x4s that can be joined with either pocket holes, domino, or dowels. The dimensions of my table are 23 inches by 43 inches, and the height of your base will vary depending on the casters used and the height of your table saw. These corner members are what hold the brackets, and the depth of yours will vary depending on the type of brackets that you use. They're positioned at the corners of the top and then secured together with 3/4 inch pine cross members, and then that whole unit is secured to the top and bottom with Craig screws, pretty much completing the table before the brackets are installed. So thanks for watching, and I hope this has shown you that sometimes less is better, especially if space is at a premium in your workshop. So please post any comments in the comments section, and I hope I've inspired some ideas for your workshop that will help you in your next project. Maybe this is your next project. Good luck.